Listen up. There are tons of ways that people can screw up their auto accident settlements and be taken advantage of by the insurance adjuster. And in the last 15 years that I've been doing this work, I've seen maybe 5 common mistakes that people make when they're dealing with insurance adjusters without a lawyer. And if you come to a lawyer after the fact, it's probably going to be too late. So what I want to give you today is 5 mistakes to avoid if you're trying to handle your case on your own with the insurance company. My name is Brian Glass. I'm a lawyer in Virginia. I'm not your lawyer though. And so none of this is legal advice. It's just general tips and tricks from mistakes that I've seen people made in the last 15 years. If you want me to be your lawyer, check out our website, give us a call, and we'll see if we're a good fit. So with all of that said, here's the 5 things that I see people screw up with most often. Number 1 is not understanding that this is a negotiation, right? It's not as though the insurance company is going to call you and tell you what the case is worth and you're automatically going to say yes. Now, in some cases, there is no negotiation. In some very, very small cases, insurance company is going to say either, like, listen, you didn't go to the hospital or a doctor at all, we'll give you $500 to just shut the case and have it be done with. Cases like that, the $500 is probably a gift, right? Because you weren't actually hurt and you didn't actually get any medical care. But in most cases, you've gone to the hospital, primary care doctor, maybe you had some physical therapy or some chiropractic care. And if it's a case like that, it's probably a case that you can resolve on your own. What you need to understand is that this is a negotiation. The insurance company is going to start low. You're going to start high, probably. You don't want to start too high, but you do need to give yourself some room for some back and forth with the insurance company. And so when I see people taking the first offer from the insurance company, I know that they've left room. I know that they left money on the table, right? And the insurance adjuster, you have to understand, is trained. They are trained to undervalue cases, to deny treatment, and to discount the care that you've got after a crash. You need to arm yourself with information, either by watching a bunch of these videos, by reading articles, or probably by hiring a lawyer if you want to be on the same level as the insurance adjuster. But the last thing that you want to do is take the first offer that they make to you. Second mistake that I see people make is discussing fault or giving a recorded statement in a case where liability might be at dispute even a little bit. So in Virginia, we're still one of these weird states that has a rule called contributory negligence. It means if you're 1% at fault for the happening of your crash, you don't get to recover anything. There's like 4 or 5 states in the country that are still using this archaic rule. We're one of them. And that means that in some crashes, if you say the wrong thing to the insurance adjuster at the beginning of the case, you're not going to recover any money. So in a lot of cases, this doesn't really matter, right? In a rear end crash, if you're at a stoplight or a stop sign and you get hit from behind, there's no question that it's 100% the other guy's fault. But if you're going through an intersection and you go through on a green light and somebody flies through on a red light and hits you, and you tell the adjuster something like, oh yeah, I was going 5 or 6, 7 miles over the speed limit, that can be enough for them to say that you also were negligent and that your negligence was a proximate cause of the crash. And if they can make that argument, they could say you don't get to recover anything after the case. And so there are many, many good reasons to not give a recorded statement to the insurance company because listen, they're going to have the police report, they're going to have photos of the car. All you're doing when you're giving them a recorded statement, which is completely voluntary, by the way, but all you're doing when you're giving them a recorded statement is arming them with some information that they can come back and attack your case with. What they like to do is record you saying, I'm feeling better, or I'm getting better, or I'm almost back to normal, or I think my treatment's almost done. So they can then turn that around on you when your treatment doesn't finish up right then. When your treatment goes a little longer than maybe they want it to. And certainly when it goes a little longer than maybe you want it to. Listen, nobody wants to be in medical care for an extended period of time, but it happens. We feel better, we feel worse, we feel better, we feel worse. It's not a straight line to getting better. But if the insurance company can record you saying, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling better, they can use those recordings against you later to deny, discount, and disregard your claim. So for all those reasons, you should never give a recorded statement to an insurance company without the advice of a lawyer. And there are some cases where I'll give the insurance company a recorded statement. But that's only after I've vetted the facts of the case, I've made sure that there's no landmines that we need to miss. And sometimes it's just that the insurance adjuster can't get a hold of her client, their insured. and they need to know from you exactly what happened. Maybe there isn't a police report. Maybe the police report isn't 100% clear. But in order to get your property damage taken care of, in order to get you in a rental car, they need to have some documentation around exactly what happened. And if their insured isn't cooperating, sometimes the only way to get you paid for that and to get you into a rental car and to get your car fixed is to give a recorded statement. So there are a couple of cases where we will do it, but typically it's a bad idea. Number 3 is overlooking the long-term impact of your injuries. Listen, if it's your first car crash, if you've never had any neck or back pain before, and you're seeing a doctor for the first time and you start to think you're getting better, you may think, straight line and I'll be better shortly. And in some cases, we've seen insurance companies go to people in the very beginning of these cases and say, hey, here's the deal we'll make with you. I'll pay up to $10,000 of your medical costs over the next 90 days, and I'll pay you X for your pain and suffering. And a lot of times up front, that sounds like a good deal, right? Because you might be out of work, you might need some cash quickly to replace your car, you might need to replace some things that were in the car, and getting that cash quickly can really sound like something that's going to be beneficial to your life. But here's what you've done when you signed that agreement. You have limited the amount of medical care that you get, because anything past day 91, they are not going to pay for. And you have no idea, as you sit here today, whether past day 91, you're going to still be in medical care or not. And so when we don't understand the long-term impact of these crashes and the long-term impact that they have on our body, we have the ability to cut ourselves short and undervalue our cases and settle them for less than they're worth. It is never a good idea to settle your case until you are all the way out of medical care. We want to be all the way out of medical care feeling 100% better and have our doctor sign off on the fact that we've made a full and complete recovery before we make any effort at all to evaluate the case or settle the case. And why is that? Because once we've settled the case, we can never, ever, ever come back to the insurance company and ask them for more money. And so the number 3 reason that I see people cost themselves a lot of money in auto accident cases is because they don't understand the long-term impact of what's happened to them. Number 4 way I see people cost themselves tens of thousands of dollars in auto accident cases is by failing to document what's happened to them. Listen, if you've been in a crash and you have cuts, scrapes, bruises, if you need a medical device like crutches or a wheelchair, you have to take pictures of those things, because cuts heal and bruises fade, and ultimately you're going to give the crutches back, right? But we need to document not only for the insurance company, but ultimately if we can't settle the case, we need to document for the judge and for the jury what we've been through. And it's far better for your lawyer to be able to hold up a picture of your cuts and bruises than it is for you to just show up in court and say, I have all these cuts and bruises. And so if you have visible injuries, if you're using medical devices to get around, if you're in a cast, 110%, you need to be documenting that by photographs. Sometimes I like to have clients hold a newspaper up so we have the date of the injury. Sometimes we timestamp it on their phone, like whatever works for you to show here's what it looked like on this date. The other thing you want to document is all the limitations that you have during the course of your recovery journey. And here's the reason for that. 9 months from now, when we're settling your case, you are not going to remember that in February of 2023, you couldn't pick up your child. You are not going to remember that in April of 2023, it got a little bit better and now it was easier. You're not going to remember that in May, you had difficulty vacuuming, right? So we have to be documenting these things either in a journal or in a running Word document so that if you have to testify in court, we've got your recollection noted and you have ways to remind yourself of all of the things that you went through. Now, humans, we forget bad stuff. It just happens. Like, we forget the hard times that we've been through, and if you don't document them along the way, then it's easy to forget the things that you weren't able to do while you were making a recovery from your injuries. And if we don't tell the insurance company or the judge or the jury everything that was wrong with us and when it was wrong with us and how long it lasted, then we're undervaluing our claims. The number 5 mistake that I see people make when they're dealing with insurance adjusters is not understanding how these cases are valued. Every state, almost every state, has a separate set of rules about how the medical costs are calculated. In Virginia, for example, we take what I call the retail price of the medicine. This means if you go to a hospital, whatever that bill would have been had you walked in without any health insurance at all. Most people don't understand this, and most people think that the bills are calculated based on what they paid out of pocket or what they paid out of pocket plus what their health insurance paid. And in some states, it is calculated exactly that way, not in Virginia. And it's very important for you to understand the rules in the particular state that you're in, because your $10,000 hospital bill, you may only have paid $1,000 or $3,000 for. And not understanding that important piece of state law is a good way to cost yourself $9,000 or $7,000 on that hospital bill alone. And so if you don't know all the rules of the game, you shouldn't be playing alone. So if these 5 things make you think, geez, maybe I do need to talk to a lawyer about my case, you need to understand that auto accident cases and the personal injury system, they're not simple. Everybody, I think, has this idea that we just multiply our medical costs by 3 and that's what the case is worth. It's not true at all. If it were true, I wouldn't have a job, right? It'd be very easy to do my job because a computer would just tell you what the case is worth. We evaluate cases based on what they're worth in a courtroom. And we know what they're worth in a courtroom because we try on a regular basis auto accident cases all over the state of Virginia. And if you're talking about evaluating a case and settling it with an insurance company, you can bet that the insurance company has all of that data about what cases that look, walk, talk, and sound like yours are worth in your county and in your courtroom. And if you don't have that information, you are at a negotiation disadvantage and you are costing yourself money. So that maybe is the number 6 way that I see people cost themselves money in auto accident cases. By not understanding how these cases are evaluated and by short selling themselves when it comes time to settle because they didn't have a lawyer. If this has been helpful to you, hit that subscribe button, check out a couple of other videos, and if you have a case that's in Virginia, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to help.